Ever had someone look you dead in the eye and assume you were stupid? Like, just because you were young or quiet or maybe just too nice. They thought they could walk all over you? Well, today's story is about the time my brother and I got the last laugh on a girl who thought she had us wrapped around her finger. And the best part? She never even saw it coming. Picture this. A small town where everyone knows everyone, where trust is given too easily, and where some people mistake kindness for weakness. That's where we met her, confident, cunning, and completely convinced she was the smartest person in the room. She played her games, dropped her hints, and laid her traps, so sure we'd fall right into them. But here's the thing about underestimating people. It always backfires. Maybe it was the way we smiled a little too much, or how we never pushed back when she subtly took advantage. Whatever it was, she never suspected a thing, and that was her biggest mistake. Because while she was busy thinking she had us fooled, we were already 10 steps ahead. The setup was perfect. The timing? Flawless. And when it all came crashing down on her, the look on her face, priceless. Let's rewind. If you've ever been underestimated, if you've ever had someone smirk in your face, thinking it a clever one while treating you like a fool, this story is for you. Hit that like button right now. Because trust me, by the time we're done here, you're going to want to relive this moment again and again. Subscribe too, because if there's one thing better than watching karma in action, it's knowing you're not alone in these little victories. We've all had that one person who thought they were slick, who assumed they could outsmart us just because we didn't put up a fight in the moment. But here's the truth. Sometimes the quiet ones, we're just waiting for the perfect time to strike. And when it all falls into place, when the person who thought they had all the control suddenly realizes they've been played. Oh, that's the kind of satisfaction you'll want to savor. So make sure you're subscribed, because stories like this, they're even better when you know what's coming. All right, let's get into it. Time to rewind the beginning. Back to where it all started, back when she was so sure she had us right where she wanted us. 8th grade. The kind of summer where the air smells like fried food and sunscreen, and the local fair is the biggest event of the year. My brother and I, we got roped into working the Sports Booster fundraiser, which really just meant sitting at the edge of the parking lot, collecting $5 from every car that rolled in. Not exactly glamorous work. Picture the scene. 2 kids at a wobbly folding table, one of those rusty metal cash boxes that always smells like old pennies, and a hand scrawl sign that said, "Parking $5," in letters, so uneven it looked like we wrote it while riding a skateboard. We weren't exactly running a Fortune 500 operation here. We'd been there since noon, sweating through our t-shirts, making change for parents with minivans full of screaming kids. Every now and then someone would try to haggle. Come on, we're only staying an hour, like we were running some kind of parking bazaar instead of school fundraiser. But we stuck to the rules. $5. No exceptions. Then right at 6 p.m., just as the golden hour light was making everything look kind of magical, the head of the boosters, Mr. Thompson, this guy who always wore polo shirts 2 sizes too small, comes screeching up in his pickup truck. He grabs the cash box without even saying hello, mumbles something about getting this to the bank, and peels out of there like he's making a getaway. Left us sitting there with an empty table, no ride home, and not so much as a "good job, kids." My brother and I just looked at each other. No instructions. No, your mom's on her way. Just abandoned, like someone had packed up all the grown-ups and left us to fend for ourselves at this stupid folding table in the middle of an emptying parking lot. But here's the thing about being left to your own devices when you're 13. It's equal parts terrifying and exhilarating, because that's when we noticed her. The girl who'd been supervising the ticket booth all afternoon. The one who kept giving us these smug little smiles every time we had to turn away someone trying to park for free. And that's when things got interesting. Just when we thought our shift couldn't get any more boring, Destiny rolled up in a cherry red convertible. And not just any convertible. This thing looked like it had been spit shined by angels, with chrome that gleamed under the parking lot lights like it was auditioning for a car commercial. Then the window purred down, and there she was, the high school royalty, senior year personified, hair so perfect it defied gravity, lips glossed to a lethal sheen, with that particular brand of confidence that only comes from never having been told no in your entire life. She hit us with this slow, knowing smile, the kind that said she'd gotten out of every speeding ticket and passed every bouncer with nothing but eyelash flutters. "Hey, guys," she drawled, leaning just far enough out the window to show off the designer logo on her shirt. "Can I just, go in for free tonight?" My brother and I, we transformed into the world's most convincing impression of starstruck idiots. "Oh, wow. Yes, of course you can." I practically tripped over my own feet nodding. My brother actually did a little bow. We were laying it on so thick, you'd think we'd never seen a pretty girl before. The way she tossed her hair as she drove off, absolute masterpiece. That little finger waved through the sunroof, chef's kiss. She was already composing the Instagram caption in her head. Hashtag bless hashtag VIP treatment. Completely unaware she'd just become the star of our revenge plot. Because here's what Miss Popular didn't notice in her rearview mirror. Me sprinting to the ticket booth like my pants were on fire. My brother already on the walkie-talkie to security. And the beautiful, beautiful irony that her little joyride had parked her convertible right in front of the most obvious surveillance camera in the entire lot. Poor thing. She really thought her charm was some kind of universal free pass. That her smile was a magic key that unlocked every door. Tonight, she was about to learn the hard way that parking lot attendants might look like pushovers. But we got long memories and petty revenge down to an art form. And the best part? She delivered herself to us on a silver platter. Because when you drive a car that's distinctive to skip a $12 ticket, you're not just breaking rules. You're giving your would-be victims all the ammunition they'll ever need. Oh, but here's the beautiful twist they never saw coming. Parking had actually been free since 6 p.m. The boosters running the event, they'd just forgotten to take down the signs, or tell anyone. And with our mom stuck in traffic running painfully late, car after car kept rolling up to our little booth, completely unaware they didn't need to pay a dime. Now, some might call what we did next unethical. Others might say it was borderline criminal. We prefer to think of it as creative entrepreneurship. Every time headlights appeared, we'd straighten up like the world's most convincing little grifters. "That'll be $5, ma'am," we'd chirp with angelic smiles. And bless their hearts, these adults just kept handing over cash without question. Each crisp bill that landed in our shoebox cash register felt sweeter than the last. Every cheerful "God bless you kids" from some unsuspecting parent was like another layer of icing on our revenge cake. The oblivious compliments just made it better. So responsible. What nice young men. Meanwhile, we were running what might have been the world's most wholesome scam. By the time our frazzled mom finally screeched into the parking lot 2 hours later, our shoebox was stuffed with bills. 60 glorious dollars. An absolute fortune to a couple of middle schoolers in the early 2000s. Enough for funnel cakes, lemonade, ride tickets, and those disgusting neon-colored slushies that turn your tongue blue for days. But the real victory wasn't the money. Oh no, it was watching Miss Popular strut through the fairgrounds at night, tossing her hair like she'd pulled one over on us. She'd glide past a Ferris wheel with her friends, completely unaware that the dumb kids she played had actually come out miles ahead. That night taught us 2 valuable life lessons. First, that sometimes the sweetest revenge is simply knowing you won while your opponent remains blissfully ignorant. And second, that there's no junk food quite as delicious as the kind bought with ill-gotten gains. We gorged ourselves on cotton candy and corn dogs until we felt sick, giggling every time we saw our unwitting benefactor posing for pictures by the prize booth. Was it ethical? Absolutely not. Will we do it again? In a heartbeat. Because while that senior girl went home thinking she'd outsmarted some kids, we went home with pockets full of cash, stomachs full of sugar, and the quiet satisfaction of having turned our arrogance into our amusement park fund. Some life lessons come with textbooks. Ours came with powdered sugar mustaches, and the knowledge that sometimes karma works through middle schoolers with a grudge and too much time on their hands. This wasn't one of those explosive revenge stories you see in movies. No dramatic confrontations, no tearful apologies, no security guards dragging anyone away. Just 2 ordinary kids having an extraordinary revelation right there at their little parking booth. That sometimes the quietest victories hit the hardest. While that senior girl was inside the fairgrounds laughing with her friends, completely unaware, we were out there having our first real taste of poetic justice. Every dollar in our shoebox was proof. Proof that the people who look down on you, who assume they're smarter, who treat you like background characters in their story, they're often walking right into a trap they don't even see coming. There's something beautifully pure about that moment when you realize the power dynamic has flipped, when the person who thought they had all the control suddenly becomes the unwitting punchline. No fireworks needed, just a private knowledge that while they're still patting themselves on the back, you're already 3 steps ahead, counting your winnings. I'll never forget sitting on that curb with my brother, splitting our 3rd funnel cake, watching the fair lights glow against the night sky, the smell of popcorn and gasoline from the rides mixing in the air, that perfect, golden feeling of being utterly insignificant to the person who wronged you, while knowing you'd already won. Was it about the money? Sure, at first, but what we really gained that night was something far more valuable. The first real understanding that confidence doesn't always equal competence, that the people who seem untouchable often have the blindest spots, and that sometimes the most satisfying payback doesn't come from confrontation, but from letting someone remain perfectly, blissfully unaware of how thoroughly they've been outmaneuvered. Looking back now, all these years later, I'd trade all 60 of those dollars just to relive that moment of realization one more time. That first sweet taste of knowing, really knowing, that the game was rigged in our favor all along. Because when revenge comes with cotton candy and goes completely unnoticed by its target, that's not just sweet, that's perfection. So yeah, maybe to an outsider, it was just $60, just some kids pulling a dumb little prank. But that moment, that perfect, golden hour realization as the fair lights twinkled around us, that became something far bigger in our lives than we ever expected. It became our first real lesson in the quiet power of observation, in how often the people who seem insignificant are actually watching everything, how the ones everyone overlooks. They're usually gathering the most valuable intel of all. That senior girl walked away from our booth thinking she'd gotten one over on a couple of naive kids. What she didn't know, what she'll probably never know, is that she gave us something infinitely more valuable than parking money. She gave us our first real taste of that delicious truth. Underestimate people at your own peril. The quiet ones, they're often the most dangerous opponents. The young ones, they learn faster than you think. The people you dismiss as unimportant, they're usually the ones paying closest attention to your weaknesses. And when you're busy being smug, that's exactly when they're figuring out how to turn your arrogance against you. Was our revenge earth-shattering? Of course not. But that's exactly what makes it beautiful. Because while she walked through life thinking she'd won that interaction, we walked away with something far more powerful. The knowledge that the game is often rigged in favor of the people nobody sees coming. If this story gave you that warm, tingly feeling of justice properly served, do me a favor. Smash that like button so hard your thumb needs ice. Tell me in the comments about the sneakiest, most delicious revenge you've ever pulled. The kind where they never even knew what hit them. And hit subscribe, because we got plenty more stories coming where the little guys win, the bullies get their comeuppance, and karma arrives right on schedule. From parking lot cons to classroom revenge to workplace justice. If there's one thing I've learned since that night at the fair, it's that the best revenge stories always come from the people you least expect. Until next time, watch your back, trust your instincts, and never, ever underestimate the quiet kid in the corner. They're probably already 3 moves ahead of you,